Welcome to this edition of the Wonderbury podcast.
I'm Brian,
I'm Dave,
and you can find us online at wonderbury.com.
and I am D Wonderly on Twitter.
Or I'm Brian Keysbury, anywhere the internet can be found.
You can leave us questions on our Facebook page. Check the link in the description.
I think
How was your week, Brian?
I think we said that last week, and then did we actually put the link in the description?
I don't know. If it's not there, it will be now.
Okay.
It's on the website.
If it wasn't there last week, we'll try not to forget again this week.
Yeah.
No promises.
So exciting news coming up, though.
Yeah?
Releasing on YouTube.
Oh boy, look at us.
Yeah. Will be the first 3 episodes will be available as an audio podcast, kind of the same way you hear it now. And this week we'll do a little visual behind the scenes look at what our recording kind of looks like, jumping between the two of us. And we'll be doing a lot more with video and the website in days to come, I guess. Months to come, years to come.
I mean, we planned for 99,999 episodes.
Yeah.
Once a week until we both convert to cybernetic beings and then rest away.
Which shouldn't be too long, apparently.
Yeah.
So what you been doing this week?
Not a whole lot. It looks like my angelfish are about to lay eggs again.
Oh, that's good.
Back to planning. In fact, Christy just sent me a picture. It looks like she's
nice.
Oh man.
She's dropping eggs and you're up here recording.
And I'm up here. I'm away.
It's all right. You got all night after this to sit down and watch them.
I'm gonna scoot down there and do some video of that. Maybe I'll share some video of that later too.
Oh, that'd be kind of cool. If you get video of it, send it to me before I'm done editing everything, and we'll get some video or at least some pictures up on the YouTube.
Cool. Maybe we can throw some on the blog post, the website post.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
I mean, not a whole lot. It's been slightly uneventful this week, which is really, really abnormal for me. Weird. Too busy watching some politics and trying not to worry.
I'm so done with politics.
Dude, ready to be
It's the never-ending cycle of one side's in charge and the other side goes freak out and Chicken Littles. Then the other side becomes in charge and they gloat and the other side goes freak out and Chicken Littles. And then the next side will be in charge in 4 or 8 years and they'll gloat and the other side will be like Chicken Little.
Right?
It's just a cycle. It's a pendulum that swings. It swung one way for a while and now it's swinging the other way.
It's too bad we just couldn't settle in the middle.
Well, law of averages is it kind of evens itself out somewhere in the middle.
That's just a theory, though, isn't it? Hasn't really been proven in anything. I mean, other than flipping a quarter.
A pendulum
eventually just slows and stops in the middle, though, doesn't it?
If an arc goes plus 90 and negative 90, at some point it just ends up at 0.
That's pretty good math.
Well, it's...
So what you're telling me is we really have just not gotten anywhere.
Well, no, we never do go anywhere.
Yep. So I want to go to Mars. Aren't we there yet? We went to the moon. We go to Mars.
If Isaac Asimov's taught me anything in life, it's that politics will be in space and in Mars too.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, we depend on it.
Yeah. If we have it, we're screwed. If we don't have it, we're screwed. So what's the point?
You know, my real position is that I guess I'm not really surprised. My thought is that we seem to have not used the democracy of our democracy.
Well, and this will be the most political that I'll get on this thing, but people need to realize is that we never have been and never will be a democracy.
Yeah.
We're a constitutional republic.
Yeah.
The people do not vote for president. The people vote for delegates who then in turn vote for president, and each state determines how those delegates are done.
Mm-hmm.
Up until not so long ago, we didn't even elect senators. Each state legislation elected the U.S. senators.
Mm-hmm.
So we've never been a full democracy.
Yeah.
People need to get that out of their heads very quickly.
We've been told that since grade school, but you know, nobody ever takes the time to like try and prove it.
Yeah, but we're not a democracy, so it's enough politics.
Yeah.
Let's talk about everyone else's favorite subject.
Religion. One quick thing. I'm kidding. You want me to sum up religion?
No.
I used to be a Methodist, and now I'm just a good guy. Do you remember Google Moderator?
Vaguely.
That was so the idea was you would put up an idea, and you'd have an open group, and the people in that group could like comment on the idea and vote like up or down on it, and it was clearly built as a business structure to like try and move projects ahead. But I kept looking at it going, this is democracy. Like, this is what we should be doing every November, is just like, here's an issue. Like, I legally want to be able to purchase marijuana in a shop and smoke it in my home. Everybody vote on that.
The problem with a true democracy, though, is that very quickly does the majority dictate what the minority... The majority can push the minority down and out very quickly. It does not give the minority a voice.
Yeah.
It becomes mob rule very quickly, and that's one of the reasons why we don't have a democracy and that we have the system that we have set up, is so that the big guy doesn't trample all over the little guy all the time.
Yeah. I guess that's... Now, did you see anything about Larry Lessig, like in the very beginnings of the Democratic primaries?
Not really. I didn't pay close attention to much of anything during the primaries. Seeing how I'm neither a Democrat nor a Republican, I really don't care about primaries.
I watched a little bit just to see what was going on, and then I found this guy, Larry Lessig, and he was I think a Harvard law professor. And his idea was he was running on one issue, and his issue was to have a tax that would support elections and remove like paid advertisements for politicians and stuff. So it was a pretty sound idea to just get money out of politics. And his platform was essentially to just put up that issue. This is the one issue I want to do. As soon as I accomplish this issue, I'm done being president. Somebody else takes over.
Doesn't Australia have a system something like that set up where you can't use private money at all for political office or for running for political office? Everyone gets a set amount of tax dollars and that's it.
I don't know for sure, but I think we're one of the few people that actually have like private money in politics.
It's retarded. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, we are now done with politics. We got that out of our system, and we're done.
So I got an iPad at the shop.
Oh boy. What do you think?
Shiny. The stuff that's on it is really easy. I mean, there were some things I had to ask my employee. She has an iPhone. She's kind of eye-tarded. So there's some things I had to ask, like how do I move icons around? Because I held it and it didn't move. And apparently you hold it down and then they start jiggling. You let go and then you press and hold again, which with Android you just press and hold and start moving. And it's like weird little things where, like, you know, if I'd have never done the Android version before, it wouldn't have even been a thing. I would have just got it. But I'm amazed at how programmed my brain and my fingers are to do Android things and to try and like trying to hit a back button. There's not a back button. You go home.
Yeah, I ran into a little bit when I was trying to set up my daughter's iPhone. It was just everything I intuitively wanted to do because I've been using Android for so long. I didn't know where to go.
Yeah.
You know, we had kind of mentioned in the first episode about not being iPhone guys or Apple guys. We probably should expound on that a little bit.
Yeah, and that's
what brought you to the Android ecosystem.
I mean, I started using Google as a search engine pretty early, like late 01. I was in the early invites for Gmail when it came out. I think by the time Android was even a thing, I was already so far into the Google ecosystem of things that it was just the natural choice. The iPhone did look nice, but I don't know. At the time the iPhone came out, I wasn't looking for a new phone. Definitely wasn't looking to spend the few $100s on one when I had just, when I bought a Nokia for like $20.
Yeah.
And it was working just fine. So I pushed it off, and then when the G1 came out, my brother and I were kind of excited. We're like, well, man, Google's making a phone. Like, Google helps everything in our lives already with, we do a lot of stuff in Drive, and we share calendars. And then Gmail's been handy. We were already using Google Talk, which then was already embedded into Android at the time. And we got a combined T-Mobile account and both got G1s.
Oh, nice.
And then just kind of jumped in. By the time I bought like $10 of apps, dude, it's like you hit a point when you're in an ecosystem. It doesn't matter what it is. You could be on a Windows phone. You start putting money into that Windows ecosystem, and you're not getting out.
Yeah.
You're in it.
Yeah, the ecosystems are very poignant to how I arrived where I was at too, to a certain extent. I kind of went a different route than you did, though.
Yeah, you kind of took the long way.
Well, my first smartphone experience was through Research in Motion, or RIM, or as they're commonly known in the United States, BlackBerry.
Mm-hmm.
And I had 4 or 5 different BlackBerries, but at that time, I was also on Verizon. So my choices pretty much were BlackBerry, which I was in the military at the time, and so everyone that had a smartphone had a BlackBerry. So it was kind of circumstances that way. And then when I decided to go away from BlackBerry and switch to Android, um, iPhones were still a AT&T exclusive, and I would have to leave my current contract with Verizon, which I wasn't going to do, for AT&T to get an iPhone.
I forgot about that. I forgot they were exclusive to them.
They were exclusive for a very long time with AT&T. And so
that might have been part of the reason why I didn't jump on an iPhone. Was it I mean, AT&T was expensive at the time. At least for me, it seemed expensive.
Well, I was even though I was military, I was on a shared plan. Like our whole family was on a Verizon shared plan, so I wasn't leaving that cheap contract. That, and I was grandfathered into the unlimited data and all that fun stuff. There was no way I was going to leave that.
Yeah.
So I arrived at that way. I've come very close to buying iPhones a couple of times. The last 2 times that I've gotten new computers, I've looked very long and hard at Macs. And I've always said that if I switched to a Mac for my computing, I would also switch to an iPhone for the ecosystem share. But I was very familiar with, at the time I was running Linux, and I was very, all full-time Linux. And knowing that Android backend was all Linux-based, it was all off the Linux kernel, I felt very comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Because I got into modding and that kind of stuff very, very early in my Android, ROMing and all that, very early.
Yeah, I think Tasker was one of the first apps I bought. I think there was like a Mahjong game, and then something for Magic the Gathering, and then Tasker. It's amazing that I can remember stuff like that. I consider I'm about in desperate need of a new computer, and I keep considering a Mac.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't get the iPhone. Just from
I won't now. I don't think I'm way too deep into the Google ecosystem. And it's not. I have issues with Apple as a company. They've here recently, especially, they've done some things that I scratch my head. And if I was into that system, I would get really frustrated. For example, the iPhone 7, they did away with the headphone jack, and all they have now is one lightning port on the phone. I get the decision. I understand it. But they release out the new MacBook Pro. The MacBook Pro does not have a lightning port anywhere on it. It is completely USB-C, and there's a headphone jack. Which means you cannot use the same connection. You cannot natively connect your phone, your iPhone, to your MacBook Pro without conversion dongle.
Do they cost $30?
I think they cost more than $30.
Dude, so I was explaining my Apple theory earlier today on the phone. And I said I kind of look at Apple as like Burger King. Only Burger King only sells the Whopper and the Whopper Jr. They also sell fries, but if you want the fries, you also have to buy the little sleeve that they come in for an extra $4.
But it's the basic things. You know, if you're going to do away with the headphone jack on the iPhone, and I get that. You know, you sell a special set of headphones that plugs into Lightning port. I get it. But to then not put a Lightning port anywhere on your flagship computer.
Dude, that doesn't work. The G1
G1
didn't have a headphone jack.
Here's the other fun thing for this whole thing too, is that the USB-C port on there is the only port on there.
On the
That's
Mac,
your port
on the
for
MacBook?
Connecting on the MacBook. It has one single USB-C port. It is used for paraphernalias and for charging, but not both at the same time.
Peripherals.
Because there's only one.
I sell paraphernalia.
Yes, peripheral. Yeah. But there's only one. So you have to choose plugging stuff in that's not Bluetooth or charging your device. I don't know.
Bluetooth is a great concept. I think like Bluetooth 7 or 9, like somewhere in that era, is going to be great.
Dude, we're at 4.
Yeah. I'm a bit of an audio nerd.
Bluetooth audio is the worst.
Yeah. And that blew my mind that Apple wants you to listen to their music service only over Bluetooth. They're supposed to be the quality masters of the technology industry. And why would they do that?
I don't know what the DAC or the latency is over Lightning or wired. I don't know what those numbers are. I've not looked into it much. Maybe one of our fans out there that does use Mac stuff can let me know what that is. But it frustrates me as a tech person to see that happen. And then there's the other thing that irritates me about Apple, and this will continue to irritate me until they change it, is I cannot build a piece of software, deploy it, upload it to the Apple App Store without building it on a Mac. Because you have one of the requirements is it has to be signed from a Mac.
Yikes.
Which means I can write Xcode all I want, but I cannot compile it without a Mac if I want to be able to deploy it on the App Store.
I just asked my brother what the latency through a Lightning connection was too. I figured he'd probably know. He would be the one to know off the top of his head.
Yeah, he probably would.
That's crazy.
But yeah, I can build. Windows has limitations, lots of limitations. Linux has lots of limitations, but at least I can build for both of those systems from each of those systems.
Yeah.
Cannot build anything for a Mac or for Apple or for iOS without a Mac. And that irritates me to no end. I don't care that they haven't released iMessage for Android, which I think is a dumb idea. I still think they should do that, because I would probably switch to it yesterday if they did.
FaceTime.
But Xcode, something as basic as being able to use a Windows machine, build a piece of software, and want to deploy it on multiple mobile apps is impossible.
Yeah, they want you on a Mac writing Mac software and then half-assing it everywhere else.
Yeah, and it's, yes, I could buy a Mac, but I'm going to overpay on a Mac for what I can get in the same specs in a Windows machine. That's yes, it may be premium built. It may be this, it may be that. It doesn't change the fact that it is a lot more expensive to buy a competing piece of hardware if you go through Apple. And some people just don't have that kind of funds. It's very frustrating.
Ah, dang. Dustin messaged me back. He said 0.7 milliseconds, as low as 0.7 milliseconds. And then he goes, wait, lightning or thunderbolt? I'm like, I clearly said lightning. Thunderbolt was as low as 0.7 milliseconds. And I imagine if they did...
Wasn't Thunderbolt their first? Because wasn't Thunderbolt just their name for IEE?
I don't know. They vaguely...
And then they created their proprietary, which I believe is the current, which is Lightning. If memory serves.
Official Sweetwater sales customer service sales engineer answer to that question: I don't know. It's low enough.
It's low enough. Well, that settles that.
Settles that.
And it's better than Bluetooth. Because I think two tin cans with a string between them is better than Bluetooth.
Yeah, pretty much.
Maybe that's kind of an exaggeration, but
they sound about the same.
No, I don't mind. I don't mind Apple. I don't mind Macs. Life circumstances has been such that I've never been really afforded. I mean, my very first computer was an Apple computer. I started with an Apple IIe back in the, what was that? Been early 90s, late 80s, early 90s time frame. So I really don't have a major issue with Macs or with Apple. I have major issues, but my reasoning for not using them has been one more of I was a very long time Linux user, and only recently have I switched back to running Windows most of the time. And by recently I mean within the last 3 or 4 months.
I know.
And that's been a shock to my system, trying to relearn Windows after so many years. The last time I ran Windows full time, it was Vista. Not Vista, XP. I skipped Vista 7 and 8.
Yikes.
And 8.1 and 8 point whatever.
I know we've talked, you and I personally, we've talked a few times about I don't really enjoy being on the Windows ecosystem.
No, I don't.
And that's another thing where I'm stuck. Like, I would probably get out, but what's my option? I'm
not stuck. I enjoy gaming too much.
Yeah.
And while dual booting is a solution, it was a solution that was becoming more frustrating than not.
Yeah, and that's where I found myself being in Windows more and not needing to switch back to Linux, like just staying in it all the time.
My setup right now is I run Windows as a primary system, and I've got 2 monitors. So one on the left, I always keep running Windows. Then I run Linux in a virtual box. I run seamless integration, and I run it over on the right screen. So I am technically running both at the same time. It automatically grabs my mouse. I just move the mouse over there, and suddenly I'm running in Linux in with all my Linux stuff.
Nice.
When I want to switch back, I just move the mouse back over to the left. So it's like running 2 different systems, and it works for me. I mean, it's doing everything that I want it to do, everything that I need it to do. It's not a bad setup right now.
Yeah.
And then for mobile stuff, I have a Chromebook, and I use Chrome Remote Desktop to remote in. And once again, if I want to work on the Windows side, I work on the Windows side. Then I scroll over all the way over to the right, and my Linux screen pops up, and it just looks like it's running seamlessly through my Chromebook.
Yeah.
You know, I've managed to now mix 3 ecosystems into one.
I
Well, technically 2, I guess, because desktop and a Chromebook.
man, I jumped
Which
in the Chromebook.
I absolutely love my Chromebook.
Dude, they're nice. Christy has one of the it's either Asus or Acer, whichever. No, I think it is Acer C27 or 72 with the touch screen.
Yeah, I
The one
didn't get the
that
touchscreen, but I just bought a new one that has the 1080, the full true 1080 resolution.
yeah, dude, and it's that thing is so nice, and I still have one of the. It was the first commercially available one, the Acer something like 47 or whatever. I don't remember.
Yeah,
Um,
I've got the Acer Chromebook 14,
yeah.
holding it up to the camera with my Federation of Planets logo and Enlightened Ingress sticker on it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely love this thing. 14
Dude,
inches, beautiful machine, brushed aluminum. Mwah.
the one that I have, um, we've had it for 4 or 5 years,
Yeah,
and it's still kicking. Like, it's not fast. I can't do like anything crazy on it, but it's not. I mean, it's not meant to, anyways. It watches videos fine. I can email. I do hangouts, like the
yep.
stuff that I'm normally doing, and that's kind of why I'm stuck with Windows. Though, is there isn't software to replace the stuff that I'm doing with the Chromebook yet. And I've seen some hopeful things. There's a web app called WeVideo that does an amazing job with video editing. It's fairly intuitive. Some of the stuff was a little silly, like having to adjust every clip.
There are some tasks, but then again, the Chromebook's not meant to do those types of tasks. The Chromebook is meant to do the tasks that 99% of people use computers for.
Yeah,
There's a few of us that use it for a lot more power stuff, and we need the extra oomph that everything else gives. But most people out there, they're writing papers, they're on the internet, and it's one of the best geared toward those people. You know, people are always going to bring up games, and they're always going to bring up audio, video, blah, 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 editing. That's not what Chromebooks are built for. That's not who they're generated for. That's not who they're marketed for.
yeah, but we're gonna see it. We're gonna see it.
We
It's
eventually
gonna
will.
happen. And I I wasn't sure until I found WeVideo. There was an audio thing that was built into Hangouts before they went and screwed up Hangouts on us. Which was actually, that thing was so cool. And you could like multiple people could be logged into a project at from different places and like working on editing on this audio
Yeah.
track, which
Yeah, that would be kind of nice too.
it didn't like it worked to get all the good stuff out of it, like actually being able to sync audio files to each other in the project and like export it all as one thing. That was where the paid service was, which I don't know. I guess that doesn't seem like a bad thing because you're paying for programs anyways. Paid paid for Reaper. That wasn't. I guess that was like $68.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, yeah. Especially considering it's as powerful as Pro Tools, and Pro Tools is like $1,000. Yeah, $68 ain't so bad.
Yeah, it's the video editing community is that way too, where it's just there's some good free ones out there, and then it's, you know, you're either getting one that does most of what you want to do, or you're spending thousands of dollars.
Yep. Speaking of which, we're going to be doing some video editing. What are you going to use?
I'm going to be using a mixture of probably Lightworks and KDN Live. KDN Live is actually Linux only, and it's one of the best open source video editors out there. And Lightworks, they're free because I don't have the $600 to spend for the pro version. It does a lot, and it makes me very happy. And I'm learning it still, which is why I'm going to be doing a mixture of both.
There's a lot to learn, man.
I'm going to try to do as much as I can. The only limitation Lightworks that's making me kind of hesitate on it right now is that the non-pro version will not export at 1080.
Nope. 720 at the best.
720 at the best.
I was gonna say
I don't like that. I was actually looking earlier for a couple of other programs, and there's a couple that I'm going to try. Just play with a little bit.
Well, here's how much stuff do you want to do? Like what? Give me a quick feature list that you need.
Right now it's going to be playing with light levels, playing with obviously your regular cropping, overlaying text. Mostly for now, green screen manipulation, which I'm not doing for this video, but for ones in the future. Mostly that style of stuff.
Would you shoot a brick if I told you that Reaper would do all of that?
I was looking at Reaper's availability, and it's
tricky. It's a little rough.
It's a little rough would be an improvement over what it is. It can be done, but
intuitive.
The hard part is the other one that I'm actually looking at right now too is Blender has an entire video editing suite.
Blender is
built in.
Very complicated.
I've done a lot of stuff in Blender before, and I don't know how their video editing side is. Blender is insanely complicated and insanely
It took me a couple of weeks to figure out how to get to the video editing part and like get out of the 3D world rendering part and get into the actual video. A couple of weeks just to figure that out. And by that point I was like, screw that, I'm done.
Yeah, I've done some basic video editing with it.
Lightworks was way better.
Yeah, Lightworks is nice. I just don't like the limitations that Lightworks has for the 1080 or not being able to do 1080.
Yeah.
Especially with some of the other video projects that I've got in mind that I want to do eventually with Wonderbury as a platform and not just the podcast. So I think I'm going to find a different one. KDN Live requires a little bit more processing power than what I have dedicated through my virtual box at the moment.
I'm gonna get you on that Reaper train, man.
Yeah, I'll take a look at what Reaper's got.
It's pretty. So you drag and drop your video file in on your effects channel.
Yeah, except I tried to do that and it told me that it wasn't accepting H.264. It said it was invalid.
Oh, do you have name of a program? Video program. Little orange cone.
VLC?
Yeah, do you have VLC installed?
Yeah. We'll figure it out. But I think we're running about the end of our time for tonight.
Yeah.
Looking at the time, I don't want to go too late. And this, at least of the video side, this is going to be longer anyway, so.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in this week.
We'll see you next week.